October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Carolee McGrath sat down with the executive director and a counselor from the YWCA of Western Massachusetts to talk about programs and assistance available to help those who are trying to escape an abusive relationship.
This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So every single day this month, the YWCA has been out in the community. We've been at colleges, we've been at community centers, churches, public places like hospitals, wherever we've been invited to go or begged to go to. Basically, the whole point is to let the public know that we're available in Western Mass to offer counseling services and support services excuse me, for anyone who is a survivor of domestic violence.
And what's the response that you get from people when you're out and about in the community? Because I'm sure that, people who are actually living this, they're afraid. But what are you hearing from people when you're out there?
When we're doing tabling events, we have all of our brochures and informational packets. So a lot of the times people just come up to the table and say, what are you about? What are your services? And we say, if you're not directly affected by this, maybe you know somebody, so just take the information. Sometimes people actually have disclosed to us at the tabling events, and then we'll get in touch with them later to offer them services.
And I know that you have a big project coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So we have a grant with STCC, Springfield Technical Community College, by OVW's Office of Violence Against Women. And we are a community partner there. I'm on campus one day a week giving services to faculty and staff around domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. This project is national and international. The Clothesline Project was actually started on Cape Cod, and it was a way for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault to tell their stories and express themselves and put them on visual display through either art or a saying or a favorite quote that they would write on a t-shirt. So what we're doing at STIC, which we've done for the last couple of years, and I know other college campuses have done it as well, we'll display the shirts that we have that have been donated to the Y over the years, and we will stream them through the trees and the walkways, so as the students come and go to where they need to be, they'll start seeing these things, and it'll raise discussions, and we'll have to answer questions, and it's really an amazing display.
So one of the great things about the Clothesline Project is when the YWCA goes to events like that, they usually have a table where they lay clean, unmarked t-shirts out so that people can make their own. So again, when people are making the t-shirts in honor of either being a survivor themselves or of someone they know, it engenders a lot of conversation. And when you get the conversation going, you get a sharing of information and lack of judgment, and which enables people to feel like they can really start to ask the questions they need of people like Danielle that are counselors that do a terrific job at the YW.
And when you meet with different families who are in this situation, I know a general question from people would be like, well, why do you stay with that person? Obviously, it's not easy to get away, and that's the situation that people are in. But how do you help people break that cycle and finally, put that person in their past? Because it's got to be so complicated, and so there has to be so many different facets that go into it.
Yes, there is. Every situation is different, but the key is to do a safety plan. So like Liz said, if these individuals want to stay in the relationship, we want to help them do it safely. It's not always safe for a survivor to leave, so that's why they do stay. And we want to do a safety plan with them. Sometimes it takes weeks and sometimes it takes months for them to be able to plan to get out safely. Some of them don't have the financial means of their own. Some of them don't have, other family supports because they're isolated. It depends on, how long they've been in the relationship. So they need the means to be able to leave and leave safely and stay safe.
And when you talk about them staying, are there good counseling supports that could actually turn a person around who is that abuser? Have you seen that work?
I have helped people stay in relationships, and we refer them to maybe like anger management or another resource, but couples therapy, things like that. I have seen it happen, but mostly I've done safety planning with getting survivors out safely and leaving the relationship.
And the interesting thing is, you raised a good question, which is, why does she stay? And maybe what our society should be asking is, why does he do that? And we should flip that conversation so that there's no judgment about staying. Instead, there's judgment about why are you abusing somebody physically, sexually, verbally, and economically. So I think that's the beauty of having a month devoted to this type of awareness education so that people can start asking those types of questions and making it more apparent that it's so incredibly difficult to leave a situation because very often many of those women have no economic means. They're dependent on the person that is abusing them, and they're also concerned about their children and their children's well-being. So one of the things that we can offer people is shelter in our domestic violence units at the YWCA. We have a beautiful shelter. But the problem, to even get into that shelter, you have to be in imminent danger. So people call all day long asking about resources, and unfortunately, we could have a number of other shelters in Western Mass and still not be able to meet the need of people who need to get out.
And I know you're a former prosecutor, so when you talk about domestic violence cases in particular within law enforcement circles, they're the most unpredictable situations that they ever respond to.
Absolutely.
So that has to be incredibly difficult, to do your job as well.
It's incredibly difficult for law enforcement. And it's also because they don't know what they're walking into. There's more opportunities to get hurt. And it's very difficult to prosecute a case because very often someone might initially cooperate with the prosecution and the police, but then as the case gets closer to trial, decide that it's not in their best interest at this time to leave that person. And a lot of it goes back to the economics. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And I would think certainly this month, and I know it's not just this month that you're out there, doing outreach. Talking about this has to be encouraging to people who are afraid, to reach out to anybody, afraid even in their own family. Maybe they're just worried about the repercussions in their own family. I have to imagine that you've heard that time and time again.
Yes. When we go out and do, even throughout the year, not just this month, and we go to schools and talk to younger folks, and we go to colleges, and that's why we kind of tell them over these presentations so they can get an idea if that is what's going on at home, that there are services that are free and confidential, and they can come to us, and then we leave all of our brochures and informations after we do these presentations.
And that confidential thing, I think, is like the biggest, thing for them, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because domestic violence is across all socioeconomic levels. So it's very often when we're out and about, it could be someone who lives in a very affluent community like Wilbraham or Long Meadow who will finally, when they encounter someone like Danielle, who's easy to talk to, will finally start to say, hey, I think I need help. Or you could have someone who has a 7th grade education who just feels trapped. So I'm just really proud of the staff that we have at the Y, like Danielle and her whole team, that are out in the community and out at night doing incredible amount of great work educating people. And when they're doing these tabling events, they're not just sitting behind a table with all sorts of information. They're trying to engage people as they walk by and make sure, as she said, giving them literature that they can take with them or giving them their hotline number, etc.